Thank you all so much for joining. My name is Charles Rayburn. I am, for a majority of you, your assigned customer success advocate. For those of you who are joining the call from ServiceNow and other areas, welcome. These are our office hours meant to kind of bridge that gap between some of the documentation, the training, and other aspects, webinars, et cetera, that are out there to kind of help you around specific topics. Today's topic is going to be around fast track to getting started with using virtual agent and natural language understanding. We invited the principal product manager, Nabil, who will be covering the topic today. So the format is pretty much basic and straightforward. The first 15 to 20 minutes, he will cover kind of the high level information related to what does it mean to kind of get started, what are the best practices in doing so, kind of things to think about, food for thought, etc. And then the remaining 40 minutes, we're going to open the floor up to you as customers to ask questions, talk about any of the use cases that you're undergoing right now. So definitely don't be shy if you have a use case or you have particular questions. Now's the time to kind of ask that. And then we do have a follow-up office hour that's going to be around natural language understanding, model tuning. So that's going to be happening, I believe, in May. So we'll have another one related to that. In addition to that, I am going to send out a survey after this call. So I appreciate any feedback that you guys have on this office hour, as well as other topics you would like to see. So if you found this as a benefit, let us know. If there's other areas as a part of this topic that we didn't get a chance to cover and you want to see in future ones, by all means, don't be shy. Let us know and we'll try to set something up for that. So having said all of that, I'm going to pass the baton over to Nabil, and then I'm going to mute myself.
Thanks, Charles. This is Nabil Asbi, product manager from the virtual agent team. I am based in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and I have been in ServiceNow for almost 8 years. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the virtual agent. Please, if you have any questions, leave them in the chat. I'll stop and discuss this if this is relevant to the current topic that we're discussing. If it's going to be further, I will park it for now and then we'll answer it later. So let's just start. Bottleneck most of the time in our daily life is the human agent, or whether it's when you want to get a service or you're trying to get a coffee and wait in line, or you're just at a grocery store. And today you'll notice this kind of trend where we try to let the customer serve himself in our daily life. So we try to do the same here with virtual agent. And I think if I'm not sure, I would like to see this right now in chat. Can you please, in your chat type, yes or no, if you used the chatbot before? I would like just to get a sense of how many of the participants have interacted with it. I mean here about virtual agent, not any general one. So I'm just gonna start looking at the chat now. Charles, maybe you can help me with this. None. Okay, perfect. So
maybe it's better if somebody has used, they can say yes, because I think most of
if you used or not, please just like type your answer. I would like really to understand the audience here and how familiar they are with this technology. So meanwhile, while you do that and you type your answer, I'll just continue. I will stop to see that. So the bottleneck currently, as you can see in this image, is at the cashier. And we see here that there's this trend where you can self-service for yourself. Now, the reason we're trying to do that and bring it to IT is the velocity and the intelligence and the experience of this virtual agent. It can contribute to each one of those experiences. Now, I'm just gonna go back in history a little bit. This is how we started to interact with computers and systems. If you're old enough, I'm sure you use terminal on a daily basis. Terminal was very judgy. If you go against the syntax, it's gonna throw an error. It's not gonna tolerate that. And after that, we start with this graphical interface where you can use the mouse, or it's much friendlier. You can understand the website without you visited before. And today we're moving into this conversational experience. Now, it's gonna try to chat with you like you chat with your friends. And again, this technology is still brand new. I'm not talking just about virtual agent in general. The first time we started interacting this on our daily life was in 2011 when Siri was introduced. And after that, we saw how from 2011 till today, you have Alexa, Google Home, all these are setting the standard really high for the rest. And this is what we want to do. We want to bring this into the employee day-to-day life when you interact with your ServiceNow instance. Now, what the virtual agent can do, those are the three buckets of any action a chatbot can do for you. First, you retrieve an information from it. You ask for a knowledge base, you ask to answer your question, but also it can help gather the information in the right structure. It's not, it's different from a form. I'm sure many of you suffered when you went to fill a form and one field was not, let me say it that way, was not clear. So you set the category or the subcategory as other. So at the poor agent will end up with like thousands of incidents categorized as none or others. Here you can build this decision tree that can help you try to get the information as accurate as possible. And then you have the automated fulfillment. Well, you can trigger an action, something can happen. It's not just static content that you send to the virtual agent or to the system or retrieve it. You can order a pizza today, or you can order a mouse or a keyboard from that. Now, the benefits are, I hope they're very clear. It's about automating the task. That's going to cause a reduction in cost and improving the resolution time. Even if it does not deflect the incident, at least the MPR are going to go down. And the data quality is also going to improve when you start gathering the information, not just as a form, but as a conversation, right? Sometimes it's very hard to fill the form, but if I would call you and they ask you for specific questions, I will get the information. So we let virtual agent to handle that as if the agent is calling the customer to get the right information. Increase the productivity because the agents will be focused on the more complicated thing that requires time. The simple things, resetting password, won't be necessarily needed there. Onboarding is going to improve because you can get your agent to focus again on the right thing. And empowering the self-service, as I heard from one customer who said virtual agent does not get sick, does not need to pick up the kids early, it's always in the office, so it's 24/7 available. And the issue is going to be resolved faster. If virtual agent could not help you, it's going to deflect you. It's not going to hold you on the line trying to get more information. It's going to be a matter of minutes, if not less. And the interface is really familiar because you're familiar to texting with your family and your friends, so it should not feel any different. Now, if we go back and we say, okay, to get a really powerful conversational experience, what does it have to be? First, it needs to be native. It needs to be native to what you're trying to achieve. If you're in ServiceNow, it needs to be native to ServiceNow. You should know the user profile. You should know your service catalog. You should know all the data and be context aware to what you have there. And it should be on the right channel that you're in. So if you're using your phone, it should be on the phone. If you're using Slack on databases or Teams, for some of you, virtual agent should be, or the chatbot should be accessible via those channels. But beside being native and living within that instance, it should also be able to integrate and talk to the outside world, because I'm sure none of you have only just ServiceNow. You have other clouds also that you use for your daily basis. So you should be able to retrieve information from other data sources. Now, if we are going to architect this virtual agent, right, what does it need to do? How the data need to flow here? So what you start with, you have interfaces. There's where the user lives. There's where he spends most of his day. And he's going to choose his channel of preference. If in my case, I would use the iPhone usually, because most of the time I'm between other meetings, or I'm outside of the house and just picking something. So I would fulfill a lot of things through my phone. Would interact with virtual agent, and virtual agent has kind of two different models that we'll touch on later, but think of it as really smart brain of the whole experience that can talk to its memory, which is the user profile, the outages, the cases, the assets, and the knowledge base. But beside anything you have on the instance, you also have external integration through Integration Hub. So you can also bring data from outside to fulfill to the user. Now, when the bot fails to do what you want, and every bot there fails because no virtual agent can do everything, so we want to route you to the live agent. But before routing you to the agent, we want to make sure you get to the right agent, not just a random one. The right one means the one with the right skill, the right language, time and availability and region. So you can build this using our product that is called Advanced Work Assignment, that you build set of rules about routing, and the conversation will get to the correct live agent. I'm gonna stop, and if you have any questions so far, please leave it in the chat. I'm just gonna scan the chat very fast to see if you answer my questions. So no, yes, we used it. None, we used IBM. Okay, for some of you who think they never use any chatbot, actually you do. When you go to get money from the ATM machine, the ATM machine is a chatbot that does one thing and one thing only. You might think of it as two questions. You want to withdraw money, or you want to fill in, or you want to send money back. And these are the two things that it can do, but it's there to replace a live agent, which is the banker. So you don't need to go to the bank every time you need to get some cash. And it does a job, and we're very happy, and we really don't feel it. So hopefully we can do the same thing when it comes to our daily life, to request keyboard or fulfill an approval or any other request. Okay, so since there are no questions, I'm just gonna continue. Starting in Orlando, these are the conversations that come out of the box with virtual agent. So I'm sure if you look at it, you're gonna identify some of them that are very relevant to you. We have few in the IT service management, some conversation for the HR service delivery, and 3 conversation for the customer service management. And under that, you have the common topics, that those are the basic element of every conversation. It's not just for a chatbot, but even if you're going to order coffee, you always say the same thing. You get a greeting from the barista, and you get also an end of conversation from the barista, and would ask you, what can you do? All these kind of simple things, we brought them to the virtual agent, but beside that, we give it to you as a framework so you can customize it and control it. We'll touch on this a little bit forward. Okay, so let's assume the conversation that I just showed you down to the box were not exactly what you want, and you still would like to add more. You have a designer that can help you build conversation in a low-code framework. As you can see, you can just build a decision tree, and you drag and drop a few things and question and answers. That helps you to get to the conversation that you want with a simple drag and drop. But you also, if you have very advanced use cases, you still can do that. We'll also try a live demo with this. But beside designer, we also have NLU model builder. NLU is the brain where try to kind of parse what the user wants and try to understand his intent. It's not going to do the action, but it's only going to get the intent. I want to understand what you want. I'm still not going to act on it. Virtual agent that in the designer is where we act on it. This is where the flow happens. So both together really work in a native way, embedded together, and then they surface the conversation in those out-of-the-box channels that you don't have to do any customization per one. You just build once, and it will get reflected in all of your channels, whether it's Slack or Teams or Facebook. So build once, deploy everywhere. Now, what the model can do is easily you can build a model and train it and enter sample utterances. It can help you improve the accuracy because of testing, and you can add also your company vocabulary to this model. Vocabulary, think of it, in ServiceNow, for example, we call rooms here in Amsterdam meeting rooms by artist name. So there's a meeting room called Van Gogh. So imagine you would ask outside chatbot, I want to book Van Gogh. It's not going to be able to understand that. But if we train our NLU model to understand that Van Gogh is a meeting room That's our vocabulary. The same thing goes for ServiceNow, incident ID, the PRBs, the changes, all those are considered part of the vocabulary that you get out of the box. So besides training, you can also track the accuracy of your model. You can do an edit, train, and you can test the published versus the unpublished one. So you can say, okay, it's going to be better from what I have already in production, so I'm just going to release it. Now, there are a few components of the virtual agent, and I bucketed them here for you by the user. And think of it, the first one is the administrator, where you have topic management. Topic is a one conversation, and you have the branding and the personalization for the virtual agent. This would be handled and centered under one owner. And then you have the authoring. Authoring can be given to different people to write topics. So you can build a conversation, a topic, and then you map it to an intent. In the testing environment, you can also trigger a test very easy to see how this conversation look like, and you start reading it and interacting with it just like if it was live. The same thing goes for testing natural language understanding. You can test it after you just did a small edit. On the client side, you have all these different portals. Those are some. We also have, the screen is not that big enough, so we just put some of those. The mobile, the portal, and Slack and Microsoft Teams, where after you publish, you're going to have the same conversation across all of them. Now, as we said, every bot fails, and when the bot fails, you want to send it to live agent. So our virtual agent is also natively, organically integrated with Connect and with advanced work assignment that takes the conversation through the workspace. So those would be working out of the box with a virtual agent. And the last part, where you as an admin of the virtual agent, you want to get some analytics. You want to see the adoption of the topics, which topic is being used more than the other. How long does it take to finish a conversation? What are the most common conversations? How many unique users or active users do you have for this week? All that you'll be able to get through these dashboards. Okay, I'm gonna take a break here and ask if there are any other questions. I think you can unmute yourself, right, Charles? They can ask here, or do we need to unmute them?
No, that is correct. At this time, you guys are now able to ask any questions that you have. I would just say, whoever wants to start first, and then based upon, let that question be answered, and then we can move around that way. If we get into a rhythm where there's a couple of questions are coming in, you can put it in the chat window, and then I can also too ask them, whichever is clever. So who has the first question for Nabil? And I see right now that there are a couple of customers who have not used the chat bot there, Nabil, if you look in the chat there. So the majority of them have not.
Yeah, I can see that.
One used IBM.
Hey, Charles, okay. This is Mark from Vidant. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Mark. Go for it.
Hey, Mark.
So one question. So we're very, very interested in virtual agent in this. Right now, I'm bringing up the business case to my leadership for funding for this and whatnot. Do you all have any sort of metrics? And I jumped on a couple minutes late, so I apologize if you covered this. In terms of what you see in terms of like average deflection rates from customers that have implemented virtual agent. I understand there's some cultural things that might impact that, such as people's comfortability or going to the portal and things of that nature. I was wondering if you guys had those metrics. That's going to help me provide my business case kind of going forward with this.
No, this is a great question, Mark. So when I interact with a lot of customers, the difference usually comes on how the setup there, what is the business. Some customers still use the phone as a way to report incidents, right? Some use chats. Now, if you compare between two, I think the phone is very expensive because you can hold an agent on the phone and he cannot talk to more than one person. While in chat, you might be able to talk to more than two, I guess, at the same time. So when it comes to deflection, the numbers changes. If you're moving from phone to virtual agent, the benefit is a lot. From chat, also there is, but it's not the same. Now, culture, as you mentioned, is also is a factor here. And your investment in virtual agent. Virtual agent is not going to be, deploy once and forget about it. If you think that, that's not going to work. Think of it as a kid that you need to keep teaching, right? It was able to do 3 things. Within the next month, you need to do 1 more thing, right? You need to gather feedback and then improve it. So after you consider all these parameters, I saw a lot. I think one customer within the first month deflected 35% out of incident just because they built the right topic. When I said the right topic here, you need to find what is the most common thing that keep repeating itself, even if it's really simple, right? If you build an amazing conversation that a chatbot that can do, magic, but one person will use it every month, that's not going to be helpful for you, right? So you need to find the simple thing that can repeat itself a lot, and then you're going to see amazing results. Now, regarding numbers, I don't have the exact numbers right now, but I still remember that case study from customer who has 35% within the first week, and another customer around 55 deflection after a few months. But again, you need to find the right topic. You cannot expect it to kind of like work immediately without you getting some data to help you find the right conversations. I hope this answers the question.
Yep, understood. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Next question.
Okay, so please, if you have any questions, just raise your hand here and Charles will stop me and I'll just move on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in this slide, I told you that this is the virtual agent and there's few components here. Think of it as the brain of the whole experience. Now let's zoom into this. For every virtual agent, there is a flow of the conversation, and there's natural language understanding, and there's a chat client. We're not going to talk about this now. Well, let's focus on these 2 parts. Intent and entity is the NLU. And if we want to do a crash course here in natural language understanding, what does it mean? Every user says something, there is one purpose for it. If he's a really, unless he was trying really to confuse the bot. So whenever you say a sentence, you should have one purpose. And this purpose is called the intent. So if I say, I would like to order pizza, I have a purpose here of, I want to order food. Now, the entities are the details in my sentence, right? I just said I want to order pizza. So the entity is what type of food is pizza. I want to order a laptop 24-inch with 250 gigs and, color white. I want to order a device. That's my intent. 24-inch, 250 gigs, and and white color. Those are entities. Those are the details of my sentence, right? So the natural language understanding, we try to extract these 2 things, intent and entities, and then map them to a flow. We will do that together, but I just want you to get this part. And the flow, we decide the conversation flow. So if Charles was asking me one thing, I would answer him in a way he will take the conversation to a different direction. But if I answered him with another thing, he's going to take that conversation to another direction. So think of it as a decision tree. So the author will be building that tree, and we're going to do that together. So how the experience will look like if we build everything and everything works fine. The first experience is called topic discovery. And this is when you launch the virtual agent or you launch any chatbot. We try to understand what you mean and launch the right conversation. So the user would say here, I would like to update my profile. Okay, so we understood he want to update his profile, but we don't know the details yet. So we're gonna ask him the question of, okay, what do you want to update? Email, address, phones. These are the available things. The user would answer in a natural way, right? Until Madrid, in virtual agent, you had to click one of those options. Start in New York, and after, you can answer in a natural way. So you can say, update my email to John. So I technically clicked email, and if it would ask me what is the new email, I already filled the question. So I said, okay, your email is updated. If you take the same example and a different user would say, I would like to update my email to John. So we said the same thing, we have the same intent, but in this one, we have more entities, which is in the first sentence. So we answered questions before the virtual agent asked them. And this is what we call slot filling. We're not gonna ask, virtual agents not gonna ask you those questions again. It's really important to get this part because this is the core virtual agent. I'm just gonna go over this and ask if you have any questions, please leave it in the chat. Topic discovery is where we extract the intent and we launch the conversation. And if there are details in the utterance, we skip the questions that you already answered. If you get that, that's it. This is it. Other things, they're just gonna be about enhancing the experience. For example, if I'm talking to Charles, I can change the topic just because I decided to change the topic, right? So we're talking about, Charles, can you update my profile? The same thing I can do with virtual agent. I would switch in the middle of the conversation to something totally different. Charles would understand that, Charles, sorry for using you as a virtual agent, but you are my virtual agent for here. He would understand that I'm asking for something else. They would say, okay, Nabil is talking about something else. Now I need to change the conversation with him. The same thing for virtual agent. He would understand that I have a different intent, and then the conversation would change. But in some cases, the conversation need to go back. So let's say I'm ordering a pizza again, and I would call them and I would say, I would like a pizza. On the phone, they would tell me, okay, what size do you want? I would say medium. It's like, what toppings do you need? I'm not sure what do they serve. So I'm gonna ask, actually, can you tell me what topics do you serve? They will say, okay, we have this, olives, fungi. So they will start listing things to me. I'll pick one. I'll say, okay. But before doing that, virtual agent will ask me, okay, so what topics do you want? I just listed for you. The same thing here. I want to order a phone. When do you want it to be delivered? Okay, I don't know what are the current opening hours, so I need to understand more before answering this question. So I would ask virtual agent, what are the opening hours? Virtual agent would understand that this is a small talk. It will go to a different conversation that is called opening hours. And those conversations are very short, very small. Think of it as one question, one answer. It would answer me, and then the user should know now the answer. Virtual agent will go back to where it left and would still ask, okay, I just told you, so when do you want it to be delivered? This is what we call small talk. Think of it like, what is the weather in middle of booking a trip or something? Or what is the stock price when I'm in the middle of selling a few stocks? Very short conversation. Those are the 4 different experiences that you can get in virtual agent. So it's topic discovery, slot filling, conversation switching, and small talk. Okay. Now, what's behind the scene? How does this work? You have the chat client, and first, let me highlight this. All these called runtime. This is what is running on the server, and there's a different experience called design time, where you as an author or an admin, you build things, then you release them, publish them. So you build a topic, then you publish it. You build a model and you publish it. And then what happened on the server is the user would interact, sorry, user would send an utterance. Inside of virtual agent, there's something called entity and intent resolver. The right name in your instance called Open NLU framework. This framework would send this sentence to the NLU engine to try to understand what is the intent, to try to understand what does he mean, what's his purpose, so I can launch the right conversation. Natural language understanding would extract list of intents, not one. Usually it's more than one. And we'll rank them by the confidence. I would ask Charles a few things. Charles would say, okay, I'm not sure what he means. He might mean this and this and that. And I'm gonna rank ABC by the confidence of what I think is right. The same thing virtual agent would try The natural language understanding, all it does is just rank the intents by a confidence. And the confidence, usually it's a number between 0 and 1. Okay, so this list of intents goes back to the virtual agent. Virtual agent will process it. There's specific logic. I'm gonna send you an article to understand how it does it, but it would trigger the top conversation, the top intent that is linked to the right conversation. And then we have a flow that is already defined, predefined by you. And this flow is gonna run. So it's gonna tell the user X, the user would say Y, will go into different flow. This will keep happening until, for example, the user will change his mind, will say something different, then another flow will run, or the conversation will just complete, and then the user should got what he wants. Any questions on this diagram? Please feel free, if you have any, just to leave it in the chat. We'll stop, I'll read it out, and we'll try to answer it.
And silence also too means he explained it extremely clear. All right, you're good to go, Nabil. Keep going.
I hope so. Okay. Now, when it comes to the success, so let's assume everything went right, we got it right, we built it. What things we need to look for after it went live? From adoption perspective, you should look at the number of active users, right? How many people are using it on a weekly basis? But you also want to grow. You don't want to stay with 1,000 users. You want to grow, and you want to start attract the users who came first, they didn't like it, and you said, okay, it's not smart enough to do what I want. So you want to target them again. So you keep finding an area of improvement, and you focus on it, and you hopefully bring new users. A retaining user, you don't want to disappoint them by, you want to improve the experience. You want to, what used to be 10 steps, you want to make it 5 by trying to personalize the experience. How long does it take to finish a conversation with a virtual agent, right? And the method of choice for solving incidents. How far do we go with trying to fix the thing for the user during the virtual agent? We can, let's say the incident would take 5 steps, and we do the first 2, and then we create an incident, and at least the agent need to do 3 instead of 5, right? You wanna try to deflect those 3 things that the agent, so you keep improving that. When it comes to the user experience, you should see those as result of the above. If this keep improving, this is gonna be lagging. So first response time is gonna improve. The average handling time of incidents should be a lot faster, because you have a machine handling this. It does not need to wait to dispatch, or it's going to answer the question immediately. The number of transfer to live agents should decrease. The time to resolution, even if it goes to an agent, it's not just what's being handled by virtual agent. Again, we said we have 5 things that the agent need to do to fix an incident. Virtual agent handled 2. That's still good. The time to resolution should improve. How many chats did you have prior to resolution? Let's say the customer, the employee, the requester had to interact 5 times. How many times did you get an incident? It was not very clear. Then you go back and you ask the customer, can you please just fill this question? This was not clear. Then you go back again and again. This should not happen with virtual agent, because you're gonna build that tree that try to predict all the scenarios that's gonna happen in that conversation. All the scenarios is a big target, but we try to get as much as we can. And the survey. So with virtual agent, we're gonna have out-of-the-box survey that asks the user at the end of the conversation, how do you feel about this conversation? Is it good, natural, or not? And this survey is ServiceNow survey, so you can track the results in the instance too. When it comes to the business outcome, this is the question: how can we sell this? When you start, you're gonna see these benefits reflecting the cost per contact, deflection, and self-service rate, the time saving from deflecting to tier 2 incidents, and that's gonna reflect in also dollar saving The customer satisfaction is also going to improve to that. So we see this, if you get it right just by focusing on the right topics, these dials should start moving really fast. A forum that I would like to make sure that you stay tuned and subscribed in it is the virtual agent community. This is the link. I'm just gonna drop it for you in the chat. Charles, by any chance, can you drop this in the chat, because I can't leave the screen and do it. But you're gonna get these slides, so hopefully you can visit and see the content that we put there. Now let me share this with you. I would like to take a second to walk you through the community. Can you see my screen?
You sure can.
Let me, okay, just a second. Again. How about now? Okay, great. So this is the virtual agent community. What you're gonna find here, an overview of virtual agent. There's an article, get started with 3 steps, how to get started with a detailed flow of what do you need to do. We're gonna do some of this today. We have Virtual Agent Academy, where we discuss the hot topic of the day or of that week. And it's just similar to this, but we're doing it every 2 weeks. Customers can ask questions here. I will try to answer them within the first day. And we write article. And as you can see, I'm number 2, not insulted, but Mark is doing a lot of terrific job here by answering a lot of the questions. We'll love to see you there and interact with you there to try to help you get live as soon as possible. Okay, let's stop, take a break now to hear questions, hear your feedback, remarks, while I bring up the instance to start demoing.
How many of you were aware about the Virtual Agent Academy sessions that are out there? Have any of you attended any of those? If you have, you could click yes, or if you haven't, click no. Is that something that you guys might find intriguing? I've heard great stories about the lessons and everything that you learned in those. So definitely, I would highly encourage getting involved with those. So I'll make sure to send a link over that as well. Good, I'm seeing a good couple of yeses there, a couple of nos. And then have you browsed through some of that community site already related to some of that virtual agent information that's out there? Has that been helping you in your journeys as kind of like phase 1 approaches for rolling out virtual agent? Okay, go ahead and try to do it now. I just cleared it out for everyone. So definitely some newbies with this. And then just out of curiosity, given kind of some of the content that you've heard so far, are you guys excited about using and leveraging virtual agent as kind of like that phase 1 approach? I know some of you were saying that you had initiatives to work on that later in the year. Some of you are trying to work on it now, especially with COVID that's going on. Are these information and helping you guys to start understanding it is something that is possible and you guys can really roll it out successfully? Oh, good. A couple of yeses there. Good. Perfect. So Nabil, I guess it really is. You were explaining it pretty easily in the beginning, so I want to make sure.
Hopefully. Okay.
There we go.
Now we get to how this work on the instance. Let's stop with the theory now. Please, again, stop me here if you have any questions. We want to make sure that you are able to do this smoothly, and if you want tomorrow on your sub-production, to try to play around with it. Okay. The first step is to activate the plugin. And you're gonna find this information in the community, but the very easy way to remember it, I usually type start chatbot and they would activate this plugin. Well, this plugin has a lot of things, but let me explain it while it activates. It has the setup topics, the server, some of the out-of-the-box conversation, the system conversation. And after we activate that, we're going to activate this plugin of itself should enable you to start building conversation. Like you should be able to see a designer, start adding a few topics and test them, run them. Natural language understanding is not going to be enabled out of the box. The natural language understanding is the new product. So you need to opt into this. And I'm going to show you how to activate it and how do you configure it. But want to make sure that...
Nabil,
Yes, go
are
ahead.
you sharing something?
Yeah, I just see a big thank you right now.
Okay.
There we go.
How about now? Awesome. Great. Sorry. Thanks for stopping me too early. This is the plugin. It's called Star Chatbot. And while it activates, as I said, you should be able to build few conversations once this is done. But after it's done, we need to activate more topics. We're going to start with the out-of-the-box that we touched on. Let me bring them up. These are some of the conversation where we're going to activate. Next is the ITSM ServiceNow service management conversation. Those should be activated with the core main plugin. You don't have to do that. Just activating chatbot would take care of it. There is another plugin for HR service delivery. I think that once you type star virtual agent, you should be able to get that. And there's another one for CSM. Let's move back to the instance. Let me try to bring one that is already active. Hopefully, I will have one really fast. Seeing this one's a little bit slow.
While Nabil's doing that, I posted the link to the community and also to the Virtual Agent Academy live webinar series and the recordings for those that were past. So definitely take a look. And Brian also too posted the Virtual Agent Simulator. So there's a lot of good content that's out there to help support you guys. It should be in the chat window.
Great. Now I'm gonna use this another instance while it's still activating, and then we can go back to fresh rebooted one that looks very clean. So in this instance, let's assume it activate. The way to confirm, you just need to type collaboration, and then you should be able to see virtual agent, and under designer, categories, general settings, messaging, app integration. I hope this is very clear. The names are new, not new, we just discussed it. Designer is where you define that. Categories is the way you categorize your conversation. General settings is part of the admin experience where you just need to tune it once and you're done. Messaging app is where you configure Slack, Teams, all these channels and workplace. Click was a bit in delay. Setup topics, where you define the greeting. I'll touch on it after we start with the first conversation. And then you have the NLU setting. As I said, it's off by default. If you wanna turn it on, you just need to click here, then select ServiceNow NLU, you would save it, and you're ready to go. The out-of-the-box conversation, they're gonna be mapped already. For you, the model does not need any training, it's already trained. Now, let's go back to the designer. Okay, so each card here represents a topic. Topic is one flow. Those are out of the box and we call them the setup topic. Now let's build a new conversation and let's discuss what's inside the designer to try to understand what do you do. Okay, user info. This is our topic. We're gonna try to gather the information from the user in a conversation. So let's save it. You just give it a name. The keywords is when you don't have natural language understanding, you can have virtual agent live with keywords. That's gonna, for example, I need to type all the different type of keywords that the user would ask for, user data. So you just keep typing and this would help the end user to try to discover this via simple search. Let's save it. Now, when you activate the out-of-the-box topic, you're gonna open one topic and then you're gonna see the flow. But if you would like to change it, I would really recommend for you to duplicate the conversation before you do any edit. First, they're read-only. The second is we want to make sure that you get the latest and greatest in every release. If you touch the conversation, we won't be able to get you the latest update. So please, even if it's not out of the box, if something is already in production and someone built it and you want to do a small edit, duplicate the conversation, do the edit, then deactivate the old one and publish the new one. Okay, so when you edit, you build a new conversation, this is the canvas that you're gonna get. It's gonna be clean. In this side, you have the different type of nodes that you can have in this dialog. I'll touch on the types. In this side, you have the properties of each node. So let's assume the first question is gonna be, what's your name? So we're gonna ask the user the name. Okay. So this is the node. This is the variable that is assigned to this node. So when the user answer, the answer is gonna be stored in this variable. Okay. Now the prompt, what's the question gonna be? What is your name? You might ask, we know the username? Yes, we do, but this is just an example. So let's make it more ridiculous. What's your name? I'm just gonna tell him even his name. What you see here is a data bell, and inside of here you see the variables. There are two different types of variables. There's the input one that we just added. For example, name should be listed here, but because this is the same, you're not gonna see it. And there's always a user one that in each conversation. If you dot walk, technically you're dot walk into the user record. So I'm just gonna put his name. And let's preview. Preview is what it's gonna do is just gonna try to test. Yeah, is reserved. So let's change it. Name node. Save. Now this is the testing framework. So what's gonna happen here? We're gonna preview the conversation as if it was in production or live on your portal. This is some logs that might be helpful sometime, but this was the question. I am logged in as an admin and my first name is System. So Nabil is my name. I will send it to him. In the conversation that we created, there was nothing about leveraging that name. So we need to add some logic to it. I'm just gonna remove this and I'm gonna change this to something else. What's your birthday? Sorry, what's your, yeah, actually, let's change it to another type of node. It's a good example. So what's your birthday? We brought the data time picker. It's another type of question, but the format here is gonna look different because it expects you to send the date or time. So birthday is the node name. When is your birthday? There are two different types, three different types. There's date, date and time, and there's time only. Since this is a birthday, so it's gonna be date only. And what I'm gonna do, I'm also gonna display it back to the user. And I'm gonna use text. Text is just gonna respond in text. I'm gonna call it confirming. This is the node name. Here is your birthday. And I'm gonna use the data bell to display the birthday. So this is the variable that I just captured here, and I'm displaying it back to the user. I'm gonna save it. Let's preview it. Okay, so as you can see, different type of user interface. Now you got use a UI card, and it does not have time. If we had it as a date time, you would have here also a time picker, but it just date. I'm just gonna pick 1st of April. And okay. So as you can see, here's your birthday and display the date. Let's go back. Another type of question can be reference choice list, static choice, Boolean, asking yes or no, and image picker asking you to upload an image, or carousel. Carousel where you can swipe left or right to pick one item. Let's do Boolean for the sake of our exercise. I'm just going to remove the confirmation. So just to remember, we have a question for what's your birthday. Then it's going to ask, are you sure? Okay. The answer is going to be stored in a variable that is named sure. I'm going to save it. If I would preview now, it's going to ask me the birthday, then it's going to ask me, are you sure? We know that, so I'm going to take it another level by adding a decision tree inside of the conversation. Okay, now this is a plus help you add more branches. As you can see, you can add as much as you want. Don't add a lot because you want to be able to maintain the conversation and keep it very simple. I'm just going to add 2. And both of them have always, but we are going now to change the logic of this branch. When do we go here? You have 2 ways. A condition which is very simple. You say sure is true. And then I'm just going to name it to be able to understand from the name itself what does it mean. And there's the other one. You can use script if you have a very complicated logic. You want to query the database, get more variables and parameters, or use more, then you can use that. Let's use a condition in this case. Actually, let's stick with script. I would love to use script here. I'm just going to remove this. We said this is a low-code framework, so even if you need to do some coding, still should help you. If you remember, sure, that the variable is under VA input, right? So if I select VA input, then I put dot, sure should be here, equal false, okay? Very simple. If sure was false, it's gonna go into this, save. Now we're just gonna add a text for sake of testing. I know there's a log in the preview, but I really encourage you when you build a conversation, if you want to test, just keep adding text. Again, just like when you debug code, you add a lot of printing. This is the way to do it. Okay, so I'm just gonna confirm here. Yes, this is the name of the node, and sure. Save. Let's change the other one. No, not sure. I'm gonna drag the end of this to the end of the conversation. I'm gonna save it, and let's preview it. The question, when is your birthday? And okay. Are you sure? No. It's gonna go, we did not print it. Let me take a look at it. Sure equal false. Save it. False. Oh, excuse me. I understand the issue. I did false. It should be no, I guess in this case. I'm just going to print it to confirm. It's a good example to understand why it's not really working. I'm just going to add a print in each one just to print what was the result. So what I'm doing now, I'm just printing the output of sure to make sure that I understand what was the answer. Print, no. seems I have some issue here. Maybe I forgot to save. Preview. Okay. Something really strange behaving here. I would like to take my word on it. And let's go into another example. Maybe this would work on the other instance that I have already opened. Okay. So here I have collaboration, as I said, under designer. Charles, are you seeing the screen in delay? Because I'm looking at my phone and see it a little bit in a delay.
Yeah, it is kind of rolling a little slow there, but it is popping up now.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so again, in collaboration, you should be able to get to the designer and build some of these conversation. And after you enable the natural language understanding, the intent and entity that we talked about, you should be able to see them reflect in the topic property page. So we just saved, I just enabled natural language understanding. And when I go to the add new topic, let's enable it again. So that's it, didn't save. Okay, my instance, let's see, it's stuck. Let's just try that one. When you enable natural language understanding, then you would save it. And you will go to the designer. When you create a new topic, you would see some different, let's take the old one. The user info, if you remember, we entered a few keywords. Right now, you're gonna see something totally different. You're gonna see a model and intent. Right now, this is a brand new topic, so there's no new intent. But if we go to an instance where you activated that out of the box, you're gonna find already mapped topics for this. I think let me see if there are any other questions right now before we share the rest of the results with you. Charles, do we have any questions so far?
No, so far I haven't seen any pop in, and I know we're running a little bit over the office hour, but if it's okay with you guys, we can keep going. This is pretty good stuff here, so continue to go.
Okay. So to activate the out of the box, you need to go back again to the plugin. And ITSM, virtual agent conversation. This is going to activate some of the conversation that we have. So I'll just give it a second to activate. This instance is a bit slow today. Okay. While it activates, I'm going to go back to designer and talk more about it. Okay, so in the designer, we talked about user input and user output when it comes to building a new topic. There is also a very important part that you should be aware of. Test. Okay. When you build any conversation, you might go into advanced groups, advanced things that you bought low-code components might not be able to help you. You have here a lookup that's going to search a record in the table, I'm just going to put incident in my case. And I'm just going to pick number of the incident here. Contains 001. Okay, so this is going to do a search on the incident table. Now to print it, you need to drag. I'm just going to call it lookup incident. And here I'm going to print it to the user. And the way it's going to do it is in a record, but you still can print this in a script. So you can do a script over a table to print this record. I'm going to select the variable that I defined again, which is this lookup incident. As you can see, it's listed here. Okay, so what fields do we want to show from the incident? I want the number, and I want the short description. You can add others, caller, open by, anything you want. All you need to do is just keep adding fields. Okay, I'm just going to remove this, and I'm going to do created. I'm going to save this. I'm going to preview this conversation. Now what should do, hopefully, we're going to go to the table of incidents, get an incident that contains 001, and then it's going to print it in the card. Works. So this is the number. If you remember, we added it, short description, and the created date. If you click on this, it's going to take you to the incident record as an end user. Now, how do we add virtual agent to the service portal? You need to go to agent chat, and you would create a new record. This is going to add that widget on the service portal. I'm just going to give it a name, home or VA. I'm going to select the right portal that I want. In my case, I want a service portal. The order 100. I'm going to submit. Okay, let's go to service portal. I should be able to see the widget right now in the right bottom corner of virtual agent. And as you can see, this is the widget. Took a second to be able to add it here. So this is the greeting message. Every topic you build is going to be a new publish. It's going to be listed here. So the user have two ways to interact with it. Can click here, select manually, or can type his request. And if the topic exists and virtual agent is able to understand, it's going to launch the conversation. From here, user can contact live agents, send an email to customer support, and call all this. If you're asking, yes, you can brand it. You can customize the logic here or remove it. Okay, so what we discussed today is the designer, the out-of-the-box conversation that are still activating. Hopefully, they're done with that. It's done. Let's take a look. Last thing. If I go now to the designer, I should be able to see more topics available. As you can see, much more topics related to IT. So to be able to see it, I just need to click publish. And now this conversation is published. It's out there. If I want to test, see what the end user would see, if I click on this one, how can I help you? And show me everything. Email issues was just published, so you see it here. Okay, so we discussed the designer, we discussed the widget, we discussed how where natural language understanding need to be mapped. Hopefully this was very helpful for you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave me in the community. I will try to answer it within the same day. And if there are no other questions, thanks for attending. And Charles, back to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Nabil, for this. I'm hoping, I just want to kind of do a poll for the rest of the customers that are still on the call. I know we didn't get a chance to answer any questions, but just really quickly, are there any questions that came to mind as a part of reviewing what Nabil had just covered from the presentation, as well as kind of a good overview demonstration of how to put particular topics together. Anything that you guys wanted to bring up before we adjourn from this office hour session? Great. Well, I thank you all again for attending this. Thank you for going a little bit over as well. I will be submitting a recording to those who need it. So just email me accordingly and say, hey, I do want to get a recording, et cetera, for that. And I'll send it over to you. And those who already left and asked me for recording, I'll be sending it over to you guys as well. Please don't forget, when I send out that survey, the survey is what helps us to keep these office hours going. Take some time. It takes about 5 minutes. Provide some of that good feedback. We've got a lot of great feedback before, so I just want to continue this moving forward if this is something that's a benefit for you guys. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.